I never thought my biggest regret would be installing a professional snow removal setup in my own garage. But there I was at 6 in the morning, staring at the empty space where my plow blade had been just hours before. The February storm had dumped nearly 4 feet of snow on our neighborhood in Boulder, Colorado overnight, and I had the only equipment capable of clearing the driveways for half the street. Now it was gone, and I had a pretty good idea who was responsible. My name is William Preston, and I have lived in the Meadowbrook Heights subdivision for 3 years. When my wife and I first moved here, the neighborhood seemed perfect. Beautiful mountain views, well-maintained common areas, and homes that actually looked like people cared about them. What we did not know was that the HOA was run by a woman named Patricia Brennan, who treated the neighborhood covenants like they were biblical law handed down from on high. I threw on my winter coat and boots, trudging through the deep snow to my detached garage. The side door was still locked, just as I had left it. I walked around to the front and immediately noticed the problem. The main garage door lock had been forced open. Not broken exactly, but someone with a key or the right tools had definitely gotten inside. My truck was still there, my tool bench untouched, my lawn equipment lined up against the wall. The only thing missing was the 7-foot plow blade that attached to the front of my truck. I pulled out my phone and called my neighbor, Mike Richardson. He answered on the 4th ring, his voice thick with sleep. "Will, it is 6 in the morning, this better be good." The HOA took my plow blade. There was a long pause. "What?" "Someone broke into my garage last night during the storm and took my plow blade. The HOA has been sending me violation notices about it for weeks. I am betting everything I own that Patricia is behind this." Mike let out a low whistle. "That is insane, even for her. Do you have proof?" "Not yet, but I am about to get some. Can you come over?" "I want a witness when I confront her. Give me 20 minutes. I need to dig myself out first." I ended the call and walked back through the snow to my front door. My wife Rachel had just woken up and was making coffee in the kitchen. She looked at my expression and immediately knew something was wrong. "What happened?" "Patricia happened. She had someone take my plow blade out of the garage." Rachel set down her coffee mug harder than necessary. "She did what?" "Will, that is theft. That is an actual crime." "I know. I am going over there as soon as Mike gets here." "I am coming with you." "Rachel, you do not have to. That woman has been making our lives miserable since we moved here. She fined us for having the wrong shade of white on our mailbox. She threatened to put a lien on our house because our Christmas lights stayed up until December 27th. I am done being polite. I could not argue with that logic. Patricia had been a thorn in our side since day one, but this was different. This was not some petty violation notice or threat of a fine. This was someone breaking into my private property and stealing thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Mike showed up 30 minutes later, huffing from the exertion of walking through the snow. He was a big guy, former college linebacker, and even he was struggling with the depth of the fresh powder. "This is absolutely nuts," he said, gesturing at the snow-covered street. "Every driveway is completely blocked. Some of these drifts are up to the door handles on the cars. We are going to need serious help digging out." "That is exactly why I bought the plow blade," I said. "I was going to spend today clearing everyone's driveways for free. I already promised the Hendersons and the Chens that I would help them out before noon." Rachel grabbed her coat. "Let's go. Patricia lives 3 houses down. We can walk." The 3 of us made our way down the street, following the narrow path someone had already started to shovel. As we got closer to Patricia's house, I noticed something interesting. Her driveway had been partially cleared. Not completely, but enough that you could see patches of the concrete underneath. Someone had started to plow it and then stopped. We walked up to her front door and I rang the doorbell. Once, twice, 3 times. Finally, I heard movement inside and the door swung open. Patricia Brennan stood there in a pink bathrobe, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the early hour. She looked at the three of us with barely concealed annoyance. "William, Rachel, Mike, what on earth are you doing at my door at this hour? Where is my plow blade?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "I have no idea what you are talking about. Someone broke into my garage last night and stole my plow blade, the same plow blade you have been sending me violation notices about for the past month. The same one you claimed was not allowed under the HOA covenants even though I have it stored in my private garage. Now it is gone, and I want it back." Patricia's expression did not change. "That sounds like a matter for the police, not for me. Perhaps you should file a report." "Oh, I plan to," I said. "But first I want to know why your driveway is the only one on the street that has been partially cleared. Almost like someone tried to use a plow blade and then gave up." For just a second, I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Uncertainty maybe, or calculation. "I have a snow removal service," she said smoothly. "They came early this morning before the storm finished. In 4 feet of snow, when the entire city is under a travel ban, I pay for premium service." Mike stepped forward. "Patricia, just give Will his equipment back. This is ridiculous. Half the neighborhood needs help digging out and you just stole the one thing that could help everyone." "I stole nothing," Patricia said, her voice rising. "And I resent the accusation. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a busy day ahead." She started to close the door, but I put my hand against it. "Where is the blade, Patricia? Remove your hand from my door or I will call the police and report you for harassment." Rachel spoke up for the first time. "Good, call them. Then we can all file reports together. Breaking and entering. Theft. Destruction of property. I am sure they will be very interested in hearing about all of it." Patricia's face flushed red. "You people have no respect for the rules. The HOA covenants clearly state that all equipment must be aesthetically appropriate and approved by the board. Your monstrosity of a plow blade is neither." "It is in my private garage," I said. "The covenants do not cover what I keep in my private garage. The covenants cover anything that could potentially be visible from the street or that could impact property values. Nobody can see inside my garage, but they could if the door were open. Therefore, it falls under HOA jurisdiction." I stared at her in disbelief. "That is the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard." Patricia straightened up, pulling her bathrobe tighter. "The HOA board held an emergency meeting last night via conference call. We voted unanimously to have the offending item removed from your property and held until you pay the appropriate fines and agree to proper storage provisions. You broke into my garage. We exercised our right to enforce neighborhood standards. You committed a crime. We followed the covenants. Now I suggest you all leave my property before I do call the police." Mike put his hand on my shoulder. "Come on, Will. Let's go file that police report." We turned and walked back toward my house, none of us speaking until we were out of earshot. "She is completely insane," Rachel said. "She actually thinks she had the right to break into our garage and steal your property." "Where do you think she put the blade?" Mike asked. I had been wondering the same thing. Somewhere on HOA property probably, the community center maybe, or the maintenance shed by the pool. "Let's check it out before we call the cops," Mike suggested. "If we can find it and document where she put it, we will have even more evidence." We made our way toward the community center, which sat at the center of the subdivision. The snow was even deeper here since the area was more open and exposed to the wind. By the time we reached the building, we were all exhausted from fighting through the drifts. The community center was locked, but through the windows we could see the main meeting hall and the attached kitchen. No plow blade. We circled around to the back where the maintenance shed stood. The door was closed but not locked. I pulled it open and there it was, my plow blade, sitting right in the middle of the shed surrounded by lawn mowers and pool equipment. "Take pictures," I told Rachel. "Document everything." She pulled out her phone and started snapping photos from every angle. I examined the blade carefully. There were fresh scrape marks along the bottom edge and snow still packed into the joints. Someone had definitely used it or tried to. "Look at this," Mike said, pointing to a corner of the shed. There was a stack of papers on a small desk, and the top sheet was a work order dated from last night. It was signed by Patricia and authorized emergency removal and storage of covenant violation items from 2847 Spruce Lane. That was my address. She documented her own crime, Rachel said, photographing the paper. She actually wrote down that she had someone break into our garage. I pulled out my phone and called the Boulder Police Department non-emergency line. The dispatcher who answered sounded harried. "I need to report a theft and breaking and entering," I said. "Sir, we are currently in emergency operations mode due to the storm. Unless this is a life-threatening situation, we are asking people to file reports online. Someone broke into my garage and stole several $1,000s worth of equipment. I have located the equipment and I have documentation proving who took it." There was a pause. "You have the suspect's identity?" "Yes. It is the president of my homeowners association. She claims she had the legal right to break into my private garage because of a covenant violation." Another pause, longer this time. "That is a new one." "Okay, I will send an officer when we have someone available. Given the road conditions, it might be several hours. Do not attempt to recover the stolen property yourself. Do not confront the suspect." "Too late on that last part," I muttered, but I thanked her and hung up. "Now what?" Mike asked. "Now we wait, and I am getting my plow blade back." "Will, the dispatcher said not to take it." "Mike, there are elderly people on our street who cannot get out of their houses. The Hendersons have medication they need to pick up from the pharmacy. The Chens have a newborn baby and they are completely snowed in. I am not leaving my equipment here while Patricia plays her power games." I walked into the shed and examined the attachment mechanism on the blade. It was heavy, probably close to 300 pounds, but with three of us we could manage it. "Help me get this out of here," I said. Mike hesitated. "This is probably not a good idea." "Probably not. But it is my property and I am taking it back." Rachel moved to one side of the blade. "Come on, Mike. We are doing this." The three of us managed to drag the blade out of the shed and into the snow. It was brutal work, and by the time we got it back to my house, we were all sweating despite the freezing temperature. We maneuvered it into my garage and I immediately locked both doors. "That felt like we just did something very illegal," Mike said, breathing hard. "We recovered stolen property," I corrected. "There is a difference." I spent the next hour attaching the blade to my truck and testing the hydraulics. Everything seemed to be in working order, though there were some new scratches that had not been there before. Whoever Patricia had hired to steal it had not been particularly careful. By 9 in the morning, I was ready to start clearing driveways. I started with the Hendersons, an elderly couple in their 80s who lived 4 houses down. Mr. Henderson came out as I was finishing, tears in his eyes. "William, thank you so much. Our daughter has been trying to get to us all morning, but the roads are impassable. This means everything." "Happy to help," I said. "Do you need anything else? Groceries, medication? We should be fine now that we can get the car out, but thank you for asking." I moved on to the Chen's house next. Jenny Chen came outside with her 3-week-old daughter bundled in her arms. "You are a lifesaver," she said. "Literally. We ran out of formula this morning and every delivery service is shut down. Your driveway will be clear in 10 minutes," I assured her. I was halfway through clearing the third driveway when a silver BMW came sliding down the street, barely maintaining control in the deep snow. It pulled to a stop near my truck, and Patricia Brennan got out, her face red with fury. "What do you think you are doing?" she screamed. I stepped down from the truck cab, helping my neighbors. "That plow blade is HOA property now. You stole it from the maintenance shed." "You stole it from my garage. I took back what was mine." I called the police. "They are on their way to arrest you." "Good, I called them too." "We can all have a nice conversation about who broke into whose property." Patricia's hands were shaking. "You are in violation of at least a dozen HOA covenants. You understand what this means? The board can foreclose on your property. We can force you to sell your house." "For what?" "Helping people, clearing snow." "For defying the board." "For removing HOA property from secure storage." "For operating unapproved equipment on neighborhood streets." I stared at her. "You are actually insane." "I am trying to maintain property values and neighborhood standards." "Something you clearly have no interest in." By this point, several neighbors had come out of their houses to watch the confrontation. Mike was there, along with the Hendersons, the Chens, and at least 6 other families I had helped that morning. "Patricia," Mr. Henderson called out. "Leave the boy alone. He is doing a good thing here. He is in violation of the covenants you all agreed to when you bought your homes." Jenny Chen stepped forward with her baby. "He just made it possible for me to get formula for my daughter. What exactly is wrong with that?" "The wrong is that he is using equipment that was not approved by the board, and that he refused to store properly according to neighborhood standards." "It was in his garage," Mike said. "How is that not proper storage?" Patricia whirled on him. "The covenants are clear." "All equipment must be." "We have all read the covenants, Patricia," Mike interrupted. "There is nothing in there that gives you the right to break into people's garages and steal their property." "It was not stealing. It was enforcement action." "No," I said. "It was theft. And breaking and entering. And probably about 5 other crimes that I am going to make sure you are charged with." Patricia opened her mouth to respond but was cut off by the sound of a police siren. A Boulder Police Department SUV came carefully down the street, lights flashing. An officer got out, a woman in her 40s with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her name tag read Morrison. "Someone want to tell me what is going on here?" she asked. Everyone started talking at once. Officer Morrison held up her hand. "One at a time. You first," she said, pointing at me. I explained the situation as clearly as I could. The plow blade in my garage, the weeks of violation notices, the theft during the night, finding it in the HOA shed, and recovering my property this morning. Officer Morrison took notes, then turned to Patricia. "Is this accurate?" "He is leaving out critical context," Patricia said. "As president of the Homeowners Association, I have a responsibility to enforce our covenants. His plow blade is not approved equipment. When he refused to comply with removal orders, the board voted to have it removed and stored until he paid the appropriate fines. Did you have someone enter his garage without permission? We exercised our enforcement rights under the covenant." "That is not what I asked." "Did someone enter his garage without his permission and remove his property?" Patricia hesitated. "The HOA has certain rights when it comes to covenant violations." "I am going to need a yes or no answer, madam." "Yes, but we had legal authority to do so." Officer Morrison shook her head. "No, madam, you did not. HOA covenants do not supersede state law. What you are describing is breaking and entering, theft, and possibly criminal trespass." I am going to need you to come with me to the station." Patricia's face went pale. "You cannot be serious. I am the HOA president." "I was enforcing legitimate rules. You committed crimes," Officer Morrison said flatly. "Whether you understood that or not does not change the facts. Turn around and put your hands behind your back." "This is outrageous. I am calling my lawyer." "You can do that from the station." "Hands behind your back, please." I watched in stunned silence as Officer Morrison handcuffed Patricia Brennan and led her to the police SUV. Patricia was shouting the entire way, demanding to speak to the police chief, the mayor, anyone who would listen. "I will need you to come down to the station later today to give a formal statement," Officer Morrison told me. "Bring any documentation you have, photos, violation notices, anything relevant. I will be there." She nodded and drove away with Patricia still shouting in the back seat. The neighbors stood in shocked silence for a moment, then someone started clapping. Soon everyone was applauding and I felt my face flush with embarrassment. "All right, show is over," I said. "I have got more driveways to clear." I spent the rest of the day plowing out the neighborhood. By late afternoon, every house on our street had clear access to the road, and I had moved on to the connecting streets. My phone kept ringing with neighbors asking if I could help them too. I said yes to everyone. At 6 that evening, I finally took a break and headed home. Rachel had made dinner and I collapsed at the kitchen table, exhausted but satisfied. "You are a hero," she said, kissing the top of my head. "I just did what anyone would do." "No, you did what Patricia tried to prevent you from doing, and now she is paying the price." "Do you think they will actually charge her?" "I hope so. What she did was wrong, Will. She cannot just break into people's property because she has a power trip." The next morning, I drove down to the police station and gave my formal statement. I brought everything I had. The violation notices, photos of the forced lock on my garage, pictures of the blade in the HOA shed, and the work order Patricia had signed authorizing the removal. The detective who took my statement, a younger guy named Rodriguez, looked through everything carefully. "This is pretty cut and dried," he said. "She even documented the crime herself. We see HOA cases sometimes, but usually they are civil disputes. This went way past that. What happens now? The district attorney will review the case and decide on charges. Given the evidence, I would expect at least theft and criminal trespass charges, maybe more depending on how deep they want to dig. Will I have to testify? Probably, if it goes to trial. But my guess is she will take a plea deal. Facing jail time tends to make people reasonable real fast." I left the station feeling vindicated but also a little sad. I never wanted this kind of drama. I just wanted to help my neighbors and live peacefully in my house. Over the next few weeks, the story spread throughout Boulder. A local news station did a segment on HOA overreach and featured our neighborhood. Patricia's lawyer tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, but the evidence was overwhelming. The district attorney filed formal charges: theft, criminal trespass, and conspiracy to commit theft, since Patricia had hired someone to actually remove the blade. The HOA board held an emergency election, and Patricia was removed as president. Mike Richardson ended up taking her place, and his first act was to revoke all the ridiculous violation notices she had issued over the past year. Turns out I was not the only one who had been dealing with her harassment. The trial was set for June, but as Detective Rodriguez predicted, Patricia took a plea deal in April. She pled guilty to misdemeanor theft and criminal trespass, received 2 years probation, a $1,000 fine, and was ordered to pay restitution for the damage to my garage lock and the scratches on my plow blade. The conspiracy charge was dropped as part of the plea agreement. The day after the sentencing, I was working in my garage when a car pulled up. An older woman I did not recognize got out and walked over. She introduced herself as Margaret Brennan, Patricia's mother. "I wanted to apologize for what my daughter did," she said. "I do not know what has gotten into her these past few years. She used to be such a reasonable person." "I appreciate you saying that," I told her. "She had no right to do what she did. Breaking into your garage, stealing your equipment, and then trying to justify it all with those ridiculous rules. I am embarrassed for our whole family." "Is she doing okay?" Margaret sighed. "As well as can be expected. She lost her position with the HOA, obviously. And her husband filed for divorce. He said he could not deal with the embarrassment anymore." I felt a pang of sympathy despite everything. "I am sorry to hear that. Don't be. Sometimes people need to face real consequences before they change. Maybe this will be good for her in the long run." She paused. "Anyway, I just wanted you to know that not everyone in the Brennan family is crazy, and thank you for not pushing for harsher charges. I heard the prosecutor wanted to go for felony theft. I just wanted my property back and some accountability. I did not want to ruin her life." "You are a good man, William. This neighborhood is lucky to have you." After she left, I thought about what she said. Patricia had paid a price for her actions, but not as steep as it could have been. Maybe that was enough. Maybe she would learn something from all this. The following winter, we got another massive snowstorm. I spent 2 days clearing driveways again, and this time nobody complained. The new HOA board even passed a resolution officially thanking me for my community service. They also revised the covenants to make it absolutely clear that items stored in private garages were not subject to HOA approval. Patricia moved out of the neighborhood in September. I heard she bought a condo in Denver, somewhere without an HOA. I hope she found peace there. Mike turned out to be an excellent HOA president. He organized neighborhood parties, mediated disputes fairly, and generally reminded everyone why HOAs could be good things when run by reasonable people. Property values actually went up after Patricia left, which I found deeply ironic given how obsessed she had been with maintaining them. The Hendersons gave me a fruit basket every Christmas now. The Chens named me their daughter's godfather, though I think that had more to do with me clearing their driveway so they could get formula than any deep spiritual connection. Still, it was nice to be appreciated. Rachel and I started hosting annual winter preparedness meetings at our house, teaching neighbors how to winterize their homes and prepare for heavy snow. I showed them basic snow removal techniques and recommended equipment. Several people bought their own plow blades, which probably would have given Patricia a heart attack. One evening in late October, about 18 months after the incident, I was sitting on my front porch watching the sun set behind the mountains when an unfamiliar car pulled up. A woman got out and it took me a second to recognize Patricia. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, more natural. She was wearing jeans and a simple sweater instead of her usual designer clothes. She walked up to the porch slowly, like she was approaching a dangerous animal. "Hi, William," she said quietly. "Patricia, I heard you moved to Denver." "I did. I like it there. Nobody cares what color my mailbox is." I did not know what to say to that, so I just nodded. "I wanted to apologize," she continued. "I know I did after the plea deal, but that was my lawyer talking. I wanted to say it for real. I was wrong. About everything. The way I treated you, the way I treated everyone in this neighborhood. I was so obsessed with control and rules that I lost sight of what actually mattered." "What made you realize that?" "Therapy, mostly. Court ordered at first, but I kept going after. My therapist helped me understand that I was using the HOA as a way to feel powerful and important. I felt like my life was falling apart and I could not control any of it, so I tried to control everything else. The neighborhood, the covenants, all of it. That must have been hard to realize. It was, still is. I lost my marriage, my home, most of my friends. All because I could not let people just live their lives. She paused. I saw the news story about you clearing driveways again last winter. You helped over 200 families, apparently. Something like that. We had a bad season. You are a good person. You were just trying to help people, and I made you into a villain in my mind. I convinced myself you were the problem when really it was me all along. I studied her face. She looked sincere, but more than that, she looked tired. Like she had been carrying something heavy for a long time and finally put it down. I appreciate you saying all this, I told her. It takes courage to admit when you are wrong. I just wanted you to know, and to say I am sorry. Really, genuinely sorry. I accept your apology. She smiled, and for the first time since I had met her, it looked real. Thank you. That means more than you know. She turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and William, that plow blade. It is a really smart thing to have. I looked into it after everything happened. They actually save lives in bad storms, getting emergency services access and helping people get to hospitals. I was an idiot for trying to stop you from using it. Live and learn, I said. Yeah, live and learn. I watched her drive away and felt something release in my chest. Anger I had been carrying without realizing it. She had made my life difficult for months, committed crimes against me, and caused enormous stress. But she was also clearly struggling with her own demons, and she had done the hard work of facing them. That deserved recognition. Rachel came out on the porch with 2 cups of hot chocolate. Was that who I think it was? Yeah. What did she want? To apologize? For real this time? How did that feel? I thought about it. Good, actually, like closing a chapter. We should probably check the garage to make sure she did not steal anything else. I laughed. She is different now, I believe her. You are too trusting. Maybe, but I would rather be too trusting than too suspicious. Life is better that way. Rachel leaned against me. That is why I married you. Your ridiculous optimism. Is it working? So far. The next morning I got up early and did my usual check of the garage. Everything was still there, including the plow blade which sat ready and waiting for the next big storm. I ran my hand along the smooth metal surface, thinking about everything that had happened because of it. A piece of equipment had nearly destroyed my relationship with my neighborhood, gotten someone arrested, ended a marriage, and caused more drama than I ever thought possible over a snow removal tool. But it had also helped hundreds of people, built community connections, and ultimately led to positive changes in how our HOA operated. Strange how things work out sometimes. Mike called me later that day. Hey, I am putting together the budget for next year and I wanted to run something by you. What would you think about the HOA buying some snow removal equipment for community use? Nothing as fancy as your setup, but maybe a couple of snow blowers and some good shovels that we could loan out to people who need them. I think that is a great idea. Yeah. Because I was thinking we could store them in that maintenance shed, make it into a proper community resource center, have emergency supplies, tools, that kind of thing. The same shed where Patricia stored my stolen plow blade, the very same. Seemed like good karma to turn it into something actually helpful. I smiled. I love it. Count me in to help set it up. Perfect. Oh, and one more thing. The board wants to give you some kind of recognition for all the snow removal work you did last year. We were thinking maybe a plaque or something. That is really not necessary. Will, you spent probably 40 hours clearing driveways for free. That is worth recognizing. Just accept the compliment. Fine, but nothing too fancy. Would I do that to you? Probably not. We hung up and I went back to my garage work. I was building a new shelf system to organize my tools better. Rachel was inside working on her laptop, probably dealing with emails from her job at the university. It was a normal, quiet Saturday morning. That was when the first snowflake fell. I looked up at the sky and saw gray clouds rolling in from the west. The weather forecast had mentioned a possibility of light snow, but those clouds looked heavy. I pulled out my phone and checked the updated forecast. Winter storm warning, 12 to 18 inches expected starting late afternoon. I immediately started prepping the truck. I checked the plow blade connections, made sure the hydraulics were working smoothly, filled the gas tank, and loaded emergency supplies into the cab. By the time I finished, the snow was falling steadily. Rachel came out to the garage. "Looks like you are going to be busy tonight." "Looks like it. I will probably be out most of tomorrow too, depending on how much we get. Be careful out there. Always am." She kissed me and headed back inside. I watched the snow fall for a few more minutes, then got in the truck and started the engine. The blade lifted smoothly, responding perfectly to the controls. I pulled out of the garage and headed down the street. The Hendersons were already standing at their window, and Mr. Henderson gave me a wave. I waved back and started clearing their driveway. 3 hours later, I had cleared 15 driveways and the snow showed no signs of stopping. My phone kept buzzing with text messages from neighbors asking if I could help them next. I replied to each one, giving them an estimated time. Some people offered to pay me, but I always declined. This was not about money. It was about community. Around 8 that evening, I pulled up to a house at the far end of the neighborhood. I did not recognize it at first because the family that lived there was new. They had moved in about a month ago, and I had not met them yet. As I started clearing their driveway, a man came out. He was maybe 35, wearing a Colorado Rockies jacket and looking grateful. "You are Will, right?" he said. "William Preston. That is me." "I am Derek Holloway. We just moved here from Texas. This is our first real snowstorm and we were starting to panic. The neighborhood Facebook group said you might come by, but I did not want to assume. Happy to help. Welcome to Colorado." "Thanks. Hey, I have to ask. Is it true what they say about the previous HOA president trying to steal your plow blade?" I laughed. "It is a long story." "I bet." "Well, I am glad she is gone and you are here. This is amazing what you are doing for everyone. Just being a good neighbor. In Texas, good neighbors bring you a casserole. Here they plow your driveway at 8 at night in a snowstorm. I think I am going to like Colorado." I finished his driveway and moved on to the next house. By midnight, I had cleared 38 driveways and I was exhausted. The snow had finally started to taper off, and the latest forecast said it would be done by morning. I headed home, parked the truck in the garage, and collapsed into bed. Rachel was already asleep, but she mumbled something about being proud of me. I smiled and closed my eyes. The next morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. It was Mike. "Will, turn on channel 7. "What? Why?" "Just do it." I grabbed the remote and turned on the TV. The local news was on, and they were doing a story about the previous night's storm. Then I saw my truck on the screen, and me clearing someone's driveway. "A winter storm dumped 16 inches of snow on Boulder yesterday," the news anchor was saying. "But one neighborhood had a guardian angel." William Preston spent over 12 hours clearing driveways for his neighbors, free of charge. This is not the first time Preston has done this. Last year, he helped clear over 200 driveways during a series of major storms, despite initial opposition from his homeowners association. They cut to an interview with Jenny Chen. "Will is a hero," she said. "Last year he made it possible for me to get formula for my newborn daughter during a terrible storm. Yesterday, he did it again so we could get to a doctor's appointment. He never asks for anything in return. He just helps people. The news anchor came back on screen. Preston's story gained national attention last year when his former HOA president was arrested for stealing his snow plow equipment. Since then, he has become a symbol of community service and good neighboring. If you want to help support Preston's snow removal efforts, we are told he does not accept money, but welcomes donations to the Boulder Community Emergency Fund in his name. I turned off the TV and looked at Rachel, who had woken up during the broadcast. "You are famous now," she said. "That is the last thing I wanted." "Too late. You are the snow plow hero of Boulder," I groaned. "Please tell me that is not really what they are calling me." "Oh, it absolutely is. It is trending on Twitter." Over the next few days, I received dozens of interview requests from news outlets, magazine writers, and even a podcast about unusual neighbor disputes. I declined most of them, but agreed to do one interview with the local paper. I wanted to make it clear that I was not looking for fame or recognition. I was just a guy with a plow blade who wanted to help people. The article that ran was actually really nice. It focused on community service and how small acts of kindness can make a big difference. They also mentioned Patricia's transformation and how she had apologized, which I thought was important. People deserve second chances. The story inspired others in Boulder to start similar programs. A group of guys with trucks organized a volunteer snow removal network. A hardware store started loaning out snow blowers for free during major storms. The city government created a list of elderly and disabled residents who needed priority assistance during winter weather. Patricia saw the article too. She sent me a text message. "You turned something terrible into something beautiful. Thank you for being better than I was." I did not know what to say to that, so I just replied, "Thanks." Winter turned to spring and spring to summer. The snow melted, flowers bloomed, and life in Meadowbrook Heights returned to its normal peaceful rhythm. Mike proved to be an excellent HOA president, focusing on community building rather than rule enforcement. We had block parties, organized a community garden, and started a neighborhood watch program. In July, the HOA held its annual meeting. Mike presented his report on the year, which included a line item for the new Community Resource Center in the old maintenance shed. It now housed emergency supplies, tools for loan, and yes, snow removal equipment available to anyone who needed it. "I want to thank Will Preston one more time for inspiring all of this," Mike said at the meeting. His willingness to help others, even when faced with serious obstacles, reminded us what community really means. "So thank you, Will. We are lucky to have you." Everyone applauded. I felt my face get red, but I appreciated the recognition. It had been a strange journey from having my plow blade stolen to becoming some kind of neighborhood hero, but I would not change any of it. Well, maybe the part where I got robbed. That could have been skipped. After the meeting, several neighbors came up to talk to me. The Hendersons thanked me again for everything I had done. Derek Holloway, the guy from Texas, told me he had just bought his own plow blade and wanted to help out next winter. A woman named Sarah Kim asked if I could teach her teenage son about snow removal equipment because he wanted to start a small business clearing driveways. "Absolutely," I said. "Have him come by any time." That evening, I sat on my porch with Rachel and watched the sun set behind the mountains. The same view that had attracted us to this neighborhood 3 years ago, back when we had no idea what we were getting into with the HOA. "Do you ever regret moving here?" Rachel asked. "Not for a second, even with everything that happened." "Really?" The violation notices, the theft, the arrest, the media circus. You do not regret any of that, I thought about it. Okay, I regret some of the stress, but look what came from it. Patricia got help and became a better person. The HOA improved and actually started serving the community. We made real friends with our neighbors, and I found something meaningful to do with my time and equipment. That is worth some temporary drama. You are such an optimist. Someone has to be. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I am glad it is you. That night, I had a dream about snow. Not a nightmare, just a peaceful dream of white flakes falling gently from the sky. I was in my truck with the plow blade attached, clearing streets while neighbors waved and thanked me. When I woke up, I felt content. The following November, the first snow of the season arrived. Just a light dusting, nothing that required plowing, but it signaled the start of winter. I went out to the garage and checked all my equipment. Everything was ready. This time, though, I was not alone. Derek showed up with his truck and blade. Two other neighbors I had taught over the summer arrived with snow blowers. Sarah Kim's son Tyler was there with a shovel, eager to learn. I figured we could work together this year, Derek said. Cover more ground, help more people. I think that is a great idea, I told him. Mike pulled up in his SUV. The HOA board approved a budget to reimburse gas costs for anyone doing volunteer snow removal, he announced. We cannot pay you for your time, but we can at least cover your fuel. That is not necessary, I said. Will, you spent hundreds of dollars on gas last year. Just take the help. I looked around at the group assembled in my driveway, neighbors who had become friends, all ready to help each other through another winter. This was what community was supposed to look like. All right, I said. Let's get organized. We spent the next hour creating a plan. We divided the neighborhood into sections, assigned areas to each volunteer, and set up a group text for coordination. By the time we finished, we had a system that could clear the entire subdivision in a few hours. When the first major storm hit in December, we put the plan into action. It worked perfectly. Within 3 hours, every driveway in Meadowbrook Heights was clear. Elderly residents could get out safely. Parents could take their kids to school. Emergency vehicles had full access to every home. The local news covered our volunteer snow removal network. This time, I was not the only one being interviewed. They talked to Derek, to Tyler Kim, to Mike about the HOA's support. It was a story about community collaboration, not just one guy with a plow. Patricia called me after the news segment aired. I saw the story, she said. You built something really special there. We all did, I told her. It takes a community. I know I have said this before, but I am sorry for trying to stop you. Imagine how many people you could have helped if I had not gotten in the way. Water under the bridge, Patricia. What matters is what we are doing now. You are a better person than I deserved. We all have our moments. You made mistakes, but you owned them and changed. That is what counts. After we hung up, I thought about how far we had all come. Patricia had faced consequences for her actions, but had genuinely worked to become better. The neighborhood had transformed from a place of petty disputes and power trips into a real community that supported each other. And I had learned that sometimes the right thing to do is worth fighting for, even when people in authority try to stop you. That winter was one of the heaviest on record. We got major storms almost every week from December through March. Our volunteer snow removal team was busy constantly, but we never complained. We had found purpose in helping others, and that made even the hardest days worthwhile. In February, exactly 2 years after Patricia had my plow blade stolen, I was clearing driveways during another big storm when I saw a familiar car pull up. It was Margaret Brennan, Patricia's mother. She rolled down her window. "William, do you have a minute?" I walked over to her car. Of course, is everything okay? Everything is fine. I just wanted you to know that Patricia is getting remarried. She met someone in Denver, a nice man who teaches at a community college. They are very happy together. That is wonderful news. She has changed so much over the past 2 years. Therapy helped, but I think facing real consequences for her actions was what really made the difference. She knows she hurt a lot of people, especially you, and she has worked hard to make amends. I am glad she is doing well. Margaret smiled. She wants to invite you and Rachel to the wedding. She knows it is a lot to ask, but she said it would mean everything to have you there, as a symbol of forgiveness and moving forward. I was surprised. When is it? June 15th. In Denver. Just a small ceremony. You do not have to give me an answer now. Think about it. After she drove away, I stood in the snow considering her request. Going to Patricia's wedding would be strange after everything that happened, but it would also be a powerful statement about redemption and second chances. When I got home that evening, I told Rachel about the invitation. "Do you want to go?" she asked. "Part of me does. Part of me thinks it would be weird." "What does your gut say?" "My gut says that people can change, and when they do, we should acknowledge it. Then we should go." So we did. On June 15th, we drove to Denver and attended Patricia Brennan's wedding. It was a small ceremony in a park, maybe 40 people total. Patricia looked genuinely happy, more relaxed than I had ever seen her. When she saw us arrive, she came over immediately. "Thank you for coming. I know I did not deserve the consideration, but I am so grateful you are here." "Everyone deserves a second chance," I told her. The ceremony was lovely. Patricia's new husband, a man named Robert, seemed kind and stable. During their vows, Patricia talked about learning from her mistakes and becoming a better person. She did not mention specifics, but everyone who knew her understood what she meant. At the reception, Patricia introduced us to Robert. "This is William Preston and his wife Rachel. They are the neighbors I told you about." Robert shook my hand warmly. "Patricia has talked about you often. She said you taught her more about grace and forgiveness than anyone else in her life. I just believed in second chances. The world needs more people like you." The wedding was genuinely nice. We spent a few hours there, ate good food, danced a little, and then drove home. On the way back, Rachel said, "That was surprisingly not awkward." "Yeah, it was actually kind of beautiful. She really has changed." "Do you think she will ever move back to Boulder?" "I doubt it. Too many bad memories. But maybe that is okay. Sometimes you need a fresh start." The following winter was mild with less snow than usual. Our volunteer team still helped out when needed, but we also expanded into other community services. We organized a fall leaf removal day for elderly residents. We did spring yard cleanup for families who needed help. We became a year-round community support network, all because of relationships built during those winter storms. Tyler Kim, the teenager who had started helping with snow removal, graduated high school and started a legitimate lawn and snow removal business. He hired other neighborhood kids and built a successful company. He always credited me with teaching him about service and community, which made me proud. Mike served 3 terms as HOA president before stepping down. His replacement, a woman named Lisa Yamamoto, continued his community-focused approach. The HOA stopped being something people dreaded and became an actual force for good in the neighborhood. 5 years after the plow blade incident, Rachel and I were sitting on our porch on a sunny spring afternoon when a moving truck pulled up to Patricia's old house. A young family got out, parents with 2 small children. We walked over to introduce ourselves. "Welcome to Meadowbrook Heights," I said. "I am Will Preston. This is my wife Rachel. We live 3 houses down." The man shook my hand. "I am James Patterson. This is my wife Susan and our kids Max and Emma. "We are excited to be here. We heard this is a great neighborhood." "It is," Rachel said. "Very friendly and community-oriented." Susan looked relieved. "That is wonderful. We were worried about the HOA. We have heard such horror stories about homeowners associations." "Ours is one of the good ones," I assured her. "They focus on community building rather than enforcement." "You will like it here." As they unloaded their truck, several other neighbors came over to help. Mike was there, Derek, Tyler, Kim with some of his employees, the Hendersons, the Chens. We all pitched in to get the Pattersons moved in and settled. That evening, after everyone had left, James came over to thank me. "This neighborhood is amazing. Everyone has been so welcoming and helpful. I feel like we made the right choice moving here." "We work hard to take care of each other," I said. "That is what community means." "Someone mentioned you have a snow plow blade and you help clear driveways in the winter." "I do. And we have a whole volunteer team now. We will make sure you are taken care of when the snow comes." "That is incredible." In our old neighborhood, the HOA would fine you for having snow in your driveway more than 24 hours after a storm, but they would not help you remove it. I laughed. "We used to have someone like that here. It did not end well for her." "What happened?" "Long story. Ask me again sometime over a beer and I will tell you all about it." That night, lying in bed, I thought about how far we had come. From HOA tyranny to genuine community. From theft and arrest to redemption and second chances. From one man with a plow blade to a whole network of volunteers helping each other. It had been a strange journey, full of conflict and drama I never wanted. But it had also been worthwhile. We had built something special in Meadowbrook Heights, something that would last long after I was gone. The plow blade that started everything was still in my garage, well maintained and ready for the next winter. But it was more than just equipment now. It was a symbol of what people could accomplish when they chose to help each other instead of tear each other down. Sometimes the smallest acts of service lead to the biggest changes. Sometimes standing up to injustice creates ripples that transform entire communities. And sometimes the people who hurt us the most can teach us the most important lessons about forgiveness and grace. I never imagined that an HOA dispute about a plow blade would change my life, but it did. It taught me about courage, community, and the power of doing the right thing even when people in authority tell you not to. It showed me that one person really can make a difference, and that difference can inspire others to do the same. As I drifted off to sleep, I smiled thinking about the next winter and all the driveways we would clear together. The next community members we would help. The next lives we would make a little bit easier through simple acts of service. Patricia Brennan had tried to take away my ability to help people, and in doing so, she had actually multiplied it 100-fold. The volunteer network existed because of her initial opposition. The community bonds were stronger because we had faced adversity together. Even her own redemption arc had inspired others to believe in second chances and personal growth. In the end, everything had worked out exactly as it should have. Justice had been served. Lives had been changed. A community had been transformed. And a plow blade that was stolen from a garage one snowy night had become the catalyst for all of it. I would not change a single thing about that crazy journey, except maybe that forced lock on my garage door. That had been an expensive fix. But even that had been worth it for everything that came after. The snow would fall again. Storms would come. Driveways would need clearing. And when they did, we would be ready. Not just me anymore, but all of us together. A community united by the simple belief that helping each other was not just the right thing to do, but the only thing worth doing.